St. Kitts and Nevis, you used to be able to go over there, buy some property, do what you need to do, get a second passport, live that James Bond lifestyle. What has changed? Nomad capitalist jumps right into it, and so are we. Let's begin this video.
For decades, the tiny Caribbean country of St. Kitts and Nevis ran what they called the platinum standard of a sort of no strings attached citizenship by investment program. You write a check, you get a passport, you never have to show up. There's plenty of people, including Nomad capitalist clients, who've obtained citizenship in countries like St. Kitts and Nevis. They've never even been there, and they travel.
Oh, you don't even have to be there?
Passport. But that era is ending. Starting later this year, St. Kitts and Nevis is introducing a new requirement, a physical residence requirement, and a genuine link test that fundamentally changes what Caribbean citizenship has been about, going back even to the 1980s, and certainly for this entire century. This isn't just a minor tweak, it's an entire signal to the industry where one country is saying, no more are we going to simply take donations in exchange for passports. We're going to actually make people move here. And I imagine for many,
I have a big feeling that this has to do with like European influence. You know, Europe is really clamping down on people coming in and going out of Europe. They really don't like it. So it's, again, this is the battle between the bankers and the IT guys. This is just like one of those like precipitous effects.
Thinking about getting a second passport, you thought, I don't know if I'm gonna have to move somewhere else and uproot my life and take the kids out of school. Well, if that's you, pay close attention. I'm gonna tell you what exactly is happening and what you need to do.
Well, you're gonna have to live there a certain amount of time a year or just own property. Yeah. Go where you're treated best, baby.
And what I've told you is the best time to get citizenship by investment is years ago. Prices almost always go up, programs go away. People think it's a sales pitch. It's not. It's the truth. If the sales pitch
had the money back then, I would.
.com/apply, and you become our client because we offer
followed this guy for like 11 years now.
Pretty much anyone else in the business, and we actually help you with an unbiased approach of picking which one or ones are best for you. We don't just sell passports like commodities or candy bars at a store. So the second best time to get citizenship by investment is now, because I've been telling you for years the process is going to get harder. Caribbean.
Right. It's always like, what do they say? What's that saying? Where it's like, now is better than in the future because like it's never going to be better. Like something like, I don't know. I forget the fucking saying. I'm retarded. Fill me in the chat though. You know what I'm saying? Like now's the best time to start anything, whatever it is.
Passport prices have already doubled or more. Requirements
yesterday would have been better.
Virtual interviews are now required, but now St. Kitts is going to say, hey, you got to come and spend some time here and become part of our society. Nothing wrong with that, but kind of changes the entire basis of optionality through second passports. And so kind of the whole centerpiece of this is going to be a mandatory physical presence requirement paired with what they call a genuine link. If you've heard that before, Malta, with their old MEIN program, they were big on the genuine links. We want you to own a house. We want you to come and spend some time here, donate to a charity, like do some stuff so that we can tell the European Union, hey, this guy isn't just coming in and giving us money. He's actually part of us. He's one of us. And so now the Caribbean's modeling that. The Caribbean was the place that was more lightweight. You would just go and you would do the whole process remotely, and that's still possible. They do have the interview requirement, but now it's not going to be possible. And so I'm going to share with you an article from the trade publication In the Industry about how St. Kitts is going to overhaul their entire program and what this could mean for the rest of the industry. I'm also going to share my comments on this. I do believe that Caribbean citizenship by investment still plays an important role in your passport portfolio. I think you got to hurry and go to nomadcapitalist.com/apply and get your Caribbean passport. But I don't think that's the only passport you should rely on. And so I'll share my comments on what I think you should do. St. Kitts and Nevis is going to fundamentally restructure its CIP in 2026 with the genuine link requirements and phase out passive financial contributions in favor of residents and, not just living there, but active participation pathways. What I see this is St. Kitts and Nevis has always tried to be what they call the platinum standard. They've always charged more money. And maybe they had an extra visa-free travel country or two. Maybe their due diligence was marginally a little bit tougher, but you know, by and large, I think most people look at the 5 Caribbean citizenship countries as somewhat of a commodity. We'll walk through our clients, you know, sometimes they're in crypto, they need better travel to Eastern Europe. Okay, this one's better, or this one worked better during COVID, or this one, you know, had this policy or that policy. And so, you know, people see them as a commodity. They're not necessarily a commodity, but The idea that St. Kitts was like,
Well,
we're
you
going to
just
convince
buy
people
one.
with the platinum standard, never entirely understood that. They've always been very nice to me, but I never understood that. And so now I feel like they're trying to say, hey, we want to be not the Caribbean anymore. We want to become like Europe, where we actually want people to come and invest and spend time. And it's like, that's never what the Caribbean programs were ever really about. Planned reforms outlined in a recent statement from the CIO executive chairman, Calvin St. Just, represent what he characterizes the most ambitious transformation in the program's history. And by the way, I'm probably not getting invited again to like this July's like, come to St. Kitts, we have an event, like come and speak. And we'll invite you like 11 days before the event
Well, it really
starts.
sounds like you want to go.
After this video, but that's okay. Under the framework set for implementation this year, citizenship will require a substantive connection to St. Kitts through the structured physical presence, meaningful economic activity, including business establishment and job creation, productive investment aligned with national priorities, and long-term engagement in social, cultural, or philanthropic endeavors. Now, understand that
So they want
the
you to be
Citizenship by
there.
Investment Unit, it is a bureaucracy. Nothing wrong with that. But they speak differently than you and I do. Understand part of what they're doing is they're trying to keep the wolf that is the European Union from the door because they want to keep their visa-free travel to Europe. I quite frankly think that, at least for a lot of our clients, like sovereignty in a country that stands up for itself and doesn't just like bend over for anybody is kind of more important than like going to Europe without a visa. You can get a golden visa in Europe and then you won't need a visa. You can keep your US or UK or Australian or Canadian or whatever other passport and you won't need a visa to go to Europe. There's plenty of other passports that have Schengen access that you don't rely on the Caribbean. I don't think I've ever used my St. Lucia passport to go to Europe, even though I could. I use other passports for that. Understand that part of this is we want to sound like we're doing something and we're changing stuff. And so when countries sometimes
He's
say,
got so many passports, it's redundant. He can go anywhere. That's proven. He's probably got so many extras that he just doesn't ever touch, doesn't need to touch. It's hilarious.
It could be, hey, invest in some fund we've created, and that fund will invest in companies, and that will create jobs. Let's see what comes of this. I don't think that they're going to have any business anymore if it's like, you've got to move to St. Kitts and like start a farm or start a grocery store. No one's going to do that. I think it's probably going to fall in the middle where it's not going to be entirely passive job creation. They are going to want you to kind of do some stuff there. If you don't already have a Caribbean passport, or if you don't get started pretty lickety-split, maybe by the time you get started, St. Kitts will be too late, but there are 4 other countries and potentially a 5th with St. Vincent and the Grenadines potentially coming on board. You want to do this before they all roll this out and you're stuck running a mini mart somewhere in a Caribbean island. The program will establish an innovation pathway.
Yeah, luckily for Americans, we could just go to like St. Thomas, St. John. Go to the Virgin Islands, we're fine. Go to Puerto Rico, you're good. Like, I don't know. Other countries, maybe you're interested in a Caribbean passport for some reason. I don't know. Caribbean is great and all, but you got hurricanes and you got to worry about that. Like, you really want to live on the island full time? I don't know about that. Like, it's got to be a big island at least, or a chain of islands that are actually fun to go visit. I don't know if this one really is. There's a lot of islands there, but like, what are you going to do all the time? If you're forced to live there to have the passport, like, that's kind of, that's a big deal.
For applicants, aiming to establish active partnerships through innovation-driven business, research, technology, or skills
Asia, right?
transfer projects. And by the way, I've been an entrepreneur my entire life since I'm like 19 years old. I don't even entirely understand what this means. Thereby contributing to economic diversification. I get it. I'm glad that they want to diversify their economy. I think that what worked great was donate a couple $100,000. We send you a passport, and we make sure
not really
you're a good
much you
person,
can do
and
over
we
there in
take
St.
that money
Kitts
and
and
invest it how we see fit. And I've
Right?
been really proud to be St. Lucian and see like they've invested that
Open
money
a
in
dive
low-income
shop, there's probably
housing
plenty.
and building a road or building a school. I mean, these are tiny countries. I mean, one school they could build with, with the CBI money. I thought that worked pretty well.
Anymore.
I don't know why we're messing with this other than continued pressure from the Western powers, at which point I just say to myself, like, you know what? We don't. If our entire sovereignty is up for debate, we don't need to like placate Europe. Like, it's okay, cut us off. Like, okay, we're cool. So instead, they want to create an innovation pathway for applicants aiming to establish active partnerships through innovation-driven business. St. Kitts' citizenship will commence its transition away from contribution-based pathways in 2026. This shift will reflect what officials term international best practice, mirroring standards in leading PR, permanent residence, and naturalization frameworks across the EU, the UK, and the United States.
You know how many people just go there for like a couple of weeks to have a passport and then they leave, but they own a property. They don't want to own a business and contribute to the social structure or anything like that and raise kids there. It's not like the best schools or anything.
This is fundamentally the issue. The Caribbean is not
It's weird.
the EU, the UK, and the US. Let's be honest, most of those countries, probably barring the US for sure, but most of those countries do less due diligence on citizens that they're naturalizing than St. Kitts does on its citizenship by investors. I mean, some of the things that I've seen that the Caribbean countries do in terms of due diligence, I mean, they're not letting in people who have problems. And so you have to be of good character. You have to have a clean record. I've been through numerous of these processes. They ask you follow-up questions. I mean, it's a thing. That's one of the reasons why I've developed what we do at Nomad Capitalist for our clients. We have case officers, and those case officers are supposed to absorb as much of that as we're allowed to absorb, because without someone absorbing it, it can become overwhelming going through these due diligence processes.
So what is the reason, bro? Like, what is the reason to have one of these passports? Why are we even talking about this in the first place? You already said that it's redundant to you and you're traveling around the world. Give me a reason, like, either now or in the future, to put up with this bullshit. Like, what would be the good reason to have this passport? Some people would like to know.
The Dominica process many, many years ago, and gave up back when I had nobody
I'd like to be able to carry that answer in my back pocket.
It's why I built this business the way I built it.
Favorite topic.
I realize entrepreneurs and wealthy people don't have time to handle that alone. They already have good due diligence. What is the international best practice of making people move to your country? The United States now sells a Trump Gold card. I mean, I guess there's some vetting for that. What do you have to do to get a? Do you have to live in the U.S. with a Trump Gold card? What international best practice is being violated? The European Union has golden visas. You don't have to live there a single day, or you have to be there 1 day a year for some of them. You may not get citizenship being there 1 day a year, but you can keep that golden visa in your back pocket, which, by the way, is why I would rather have the Caribbean have lower citizenship by investment prices, lose visa-free access to Europe, and I'll take the difference plus a little bit more, and I'll get a golden visa in Europe.
Like, what are they doing there?
And then I can live in Europe. And no other country on earth is going to care that St. Kitts and Nevis didn't adopt international best.
Like, it's not a very advanced country, people. Like, do they even have sports to play? Like, do they have a gym? Maybe one. You know? I guess, like, there are opportunities for you to start a business, but you got to find employees. Are there employees that aren't doing anything? Like, what's the reason behind this? And why would I want to live there?
Practice to placate the U.S. and the EU that's already violating their own international best practice. St. Kitts also plans to launch Priority One, a concierge and civic integration service to support investors beyond CBI approval. So you can see that the nature of this is changing. Again, like, they should do whatever they want in their country. I'm sure there are some powers that be pushing them. Now listen, I really believe they should do whatever they want in their country. I don't know that's entirely their decision to do this, but understand we're making some big changes here. You know, when I started Nomad Capitalist, the price for Dominica was the cheapest. It was $100,000. St. Kitts was $175,000. Those prices are now higher. There's more requirements. It just keeps getting more difficult every year. I guess because the countries implementing the best practices don't want you to have options, because more and more people are leaving those countries. Just look at all the British people who are fleeing to Dubai and elsewhere. When people are leaving your country and taking their tax dollars with them.
Guys, I love people from Dubai and all that, but like, everything in Dubai is on camera. They could easily set you up for doing some shit. They do some crazy things to Instagram models out there, from what I've heard. OnlyFans models get taken advantage of. You got to remember who runs those places and who's in charge. At the end of the day, you ain't going to have the most money. Fact. Do you really want to live in Dubai? It's hot as hell and it's on sand. Just saying. Maybe a vacation? Rent a cool car for a couple of days? I don't know. Food's expensive, everything's expensive, except the gas.
You go when you push on the places that they're going. You can't push on the UAE as effectively as you can some tiny countries in the Eastern Caribbean. So bottom line is, if you know that you have options, even if the EU one day doesn't like St. Kitts or St. Lucia or Dominica or Grenada or Antigua and Barbuda, your option is you can get into Europe many other ways, other passports, other golden visas. But here's what the industry is talking about. The trade publication says market response signals cautious adaptation. One guy who sells passports at a bodega. I think you just come in and kind of point, and they just give you, all right, that's the one I want. Said that the planned reforms align with emerging client preferences, noting that many citizenship clients are successful innovators and experienced entrepreneurs who, given the opportunity to run a business in the Federation, St. Kitts and Nevis, as an alternative to the nation, will be keen to do so. Well, I've been an innovator and I am an experienced entrepreneur going back to the mid-2000s, and I will tell you, I have a lot of respect for St. Lucia. I've watched the Prime Minister's address. I have done more than probably a lot of CBI citizens do to look at the country. And yet, I do business all around the world. There's nothing really compelling about me to go to St. Lucia and do business. I'm a believer in treating the world as a buffet, where St. Lucia is a great citizenship, and I intend to be a good citizen of their country, and I try and uphold the values that I hold when I travel to St. Lucian. I don't get into trouble. I'm not calling the St. Lucian embassies or the British embassies, which in some cases I would have access to. It's a small island. It probably doesn't really have the systems and services and facilities that you need to run an international business, nor do I, as a person who does business all around the world, want to be relegated to one island. Maybe some people do, but the reality is very few people who get these Caribbean passports go and live in these countries. There was talk during COVID of like, what if people started to move to the country? Can they even support it? Everybody knows people get Caribbean citizenship to not have to move here. And I'm sure they'll play this video somewhere in some European Commission bureaucracy hell where like I'm the only one who can say the truth. People get Caribbean citizenship as a tool for global mobility in exchange for benefiting countries who have small economies and need foreign capital. And they don't have a lot of assets.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So in case of a lockdown, something like that, you can just dip and go over to St. Kitts and Nevis and just like chill out there while the world burns, right? I get it.
Sugarcane prices went down. There's a lot more competition for that.
Sugarcane.
The Western world
run a plantation, bro?
banks in the 90s and the 2000s, and more recently, like they don't have a lot of things to sell. And I believe these countries should have the right to be sovereign countries, and I will gladly support
she sells
people who
seashells down by the
a couple
seashore.
$100,000 to get a citizenship. Citizenship in 2026 and beyond is a commodity, not belonging, and that's the basis on which these countries operated. And so the idea that everyone's just going to adapt and say, yeah, sure, I want to go and run a small business in St. Lucia, it is going to collapse. And we can moralize all we want, but you know what? I'm a believer that every country has the right to be sovereign. I'm a believer that the smallest unit of government is the best. That's why I have more faith and more trust in the St. Lucia government than I do in the United States government, because the St. Lucia government is a smaller unit of government.
Sense.
Therefore, they're more responsible to the people.
Sad.
They can't get away with a lot of nonsense that a big
Right.
country
When you
gets
see
away
the
with.
prime minister or the president or whatever walking to the grocery store,
operate and not have every advantage of the few that they did have taken away by Western powers,
one
and
of
the
the
last
10
one
governors.
is citizenship. I just don't think that's good for these countries.
Going to the dentist right next to you.
We can talk about the self-interest of nomad
about that
capitalists all we
billion packs.
want, but fundamentally, what you're doing is you're engaging in a peaceful transaction with a peaceful country when you obtain citizenship in these countries, where they're just going and taking care of their citizens and like helping improve the quality of their life. When you donate whatever it is, millions of dollars for a Trump gold card, that money goes to blowing people up and killing them. I don't know, I'll take building housing for people. Then, okay, we can make this a moral issue, but the bottom line is for you, the people in this industry that I work in, and where I encourage you to hire a Nomad Capitalist at nomadcapitalist.com/apply, the rest of the people in the industry are gonna sit by, oh, I guess everyone's gonna have to move and open a grocery store now. Oh, I'm sure we'll adapt. Well, here's what you can do. Number one, get a Caribbean citizenship by investment as soon as possible. I've been saying that for years. If you're just doing it now, the price has already doubled on you. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. You should do it now before the residence requirements are imposed. That's the talk that it's going to be in other countries potentially. You should do it. If you work with Nomad Capitalist, it will help you pick the best country, not the one that pays us the highest commission. I know there's other advisors that they get paid commissions. They get kickbacks.
No, I believe him. I read his book. He's a cool guy.
A number of them recommend the one that gives them the biggest kickback. I've never been in favor of that. We actually do provide unbiased advice. If you don't like the Caribbean, we have like dozens of other passport options that you can get, more than pretty much any advisor out there. Figure out, like, do I need Caribbean citizenship? Which one's the best? And if I do need it as part of my passport portfolio, do it now.
For instance,
Number
it gives
two,
you what that America doesn't give you.
Adjust. Here's the thing that I think people are going to have to
European
adjust to. I've
access?
said this for years. If you're a Westerner and you value passports based on, well, do I ever need a visa to go anywhere? Malta's, they've got a new exceptional merit program that's back. It's going to cost you a lot of money to become Maltese. And
No
if you want
shit,
the
it's
best
Malta,
passport,
dog.
that's what it is. It costs a lot. Other than that, in my mind,
They got
you
F1
should try and
races,
put together
right?
residence and citizenship programs that you cobble together, i.e. the, hey, I've got a passport where I can't visit the EU, or maybe in the future my country will lose access to the EU because my country stopped being treated like a colony, and I will either get another passport or European golden visa or European residence permit or a digital nomad visa or whatever it is that I can get in and be in Europe and not rely on my second passport for that. I think that we have to understand that the Western world is desperate, and they are going to use this whole high-minded concept of due diligence and genuine links and, oh, you're letting in the terrorists as an excuse to keep out honest business people and wealthy families who just want an option. And I think you're going to have to accept at some point, the less you pay for second citizenship over time.
I got my TV up here, I got my screens down here, that's too good.
And so that's why you want not only multiple passports, not just two, but a stack. That's why you want residence permits. And I think the other part is, you know, I said to myself, I love being able to go to Europe, but quite frankly, if you told me, hey, you can't go to Europe for the next 10 years, I really wouldn't be sad. I think a lot of people, including Nomad Capitalist clients, are just like, hey, I'm used to going to Europe. I'll feel ashamed if I can't go there. Do you want to go there? If you do, get a golden visa or invest in one of the European passports or whatever.
You'll figure it out.
That if you want the freedom that comes with the global South and the Caribbean, and I think the next big ones are going to be African passports. Sao Tome and Principe is doing well. It's $90,000. It's now a lot cheaper than the Caribbean.
Can't wait till we can go to Venezuela. Probably could.
You know, Turkey and Egypt have real estate-based programs. You're seeing more countries.
Turkey's sick. Egypt's not.
Belarus is talking about a program. Why does everything revolve around, can I go to the
Belarus?
West? Again, if that's where you are, then there's a plan for you. But if your plan is, you know what, I'm tired of this West and they're overtaxing me and it's going the wrong direction and they don't represent my values, then we build a stack that accepts that some countries are going to be, you're going to need a visa to go to Europe. And so, you know, I would get the Caribbean passport now, if I could. I would also say, maybe I just go and get an African passport as well, where I can pay a lot less because they don't have European visa-free access, and they're not in a tussle with Europe in response. I don't believe this is the new normal. I don't think people are going to go to the Caribbean in as high of numbers. I really would be surprised to see that for most people because these programs are tools of convenience that help people gain optionality without having to.
That's a crazy idea. Let's go to Africa and get a citizenship.
For over a year now that Africa.
Well, country, Morocco would be sick.
I can tell you of all the places that I go, nobody would care if I'm Sao Tome. I've been to Singapore with an African passport. All they care about is your country on the list. So the idea that we're going to pay more and we're going to move somewhere and open a local
Singapore
business
airport is so
and
nice.
create jobs in a place we don't want to not just go in and get another passport, I don't understand. That's the deal. St. Kitts and Nevis is the canary in the coal mine. I think we'll see stricter rules across the Caribbean because they've
I think we're going to see stricter rules all across the board, all across the world.
And the country,
you got St. Kitts and Nevis doing this. You got Thailand doing all the shit they're doing. Vietnam's changing their rules.
We can't go there.
Europe has just clamped down on people leaving Europe, like European citizens.
You have to ask yourself,
now you got to have a background check to go into Europe, 6 months out. Like you got to have your passport that doesn't expire. All sorts of nonsense.
If you want to get into the European Union, you're going to sacrifice some sovereignty and some agency for it.
Good Lord, if you're not from America, you come here.
So you've got to decide which is more important.
Talk about interrogation, right?
Will remain a vital tool. Whether they
if you're from Malaysia, you want to come to
Europe's visa.
America, you know you got to have like 15 G's in your bank account, just like ready, just in case, even with everything paid for, your hotel, your flight back, everything like that. You got all the proof. You just got to have like 15 G's set aside, you know, ready to rock and roll at any time. It's crazy. It's like Mexico, you just walk into that bitch. And they're not even checking you.
But I would get that passport now. Go to nomadcapitalist.com/apply if you would like our help. But do know this is a canary in the coal mine. We are seeing the changes that I've been telling you about for years. It is going to get harder to preserve your optionality.
Yes, it is.
Get it now, and I would say
Guys, get it now. Also, jump online, download some AIs, and start making those motherfuckers work for you. I'm in the process of doing it right now. Soon this motherfucker's gonna be out there on the internet doing things for me. Making some money, trading, doing whatever it wants to do. I'll let it just make money, bro. Do what you want to do. Here's my bank account. Like, time's ticking. It's just, we got time still, but just do it. Why not? Hopefully it all works out. But you guys know the drill. I'm out of here. I'll be back in 2 minutes. Peace.